Hi and welcome back. My name's Deneen. You can call me D. I'm an astrologer and I teach people the psychology behind marketing. And today we're going to be diving into Pluto in the 8th house. So let's go. Now Pluto in the 8th house is very, very powerful, okay? You want to look closely at the Mars and you want to look closely at the aspects that are being made here. But you also, of course, always want to look at the chart as a whole. Now, Pluto being in the 8th house is very good for using your sexual energy to your benefit, but Pluto also being in the 8th house is very good for a person who is business savvy, okay? It doesn't always pertain to sexual energy, and it doesn't always pertain to intuition or things to deal with anything to do with psychic things, just in general, okay? But Pluto in the 8th house deals with a person, especially when you're looking closely at the Mars, okay? Look at what Mars is doing. A person who is able to transform their life through corrective action that they take through their own actions, okay? Now, Mars being here and being an aspect to Pluto can have a person who is powerfully brave and powerfully transformative, okay? But Pluto in the 8th house, you can deal with manipulation and betrayals that pertain to secrets and things that you didn't want to get out that could have likely gotten out, okay? But Pluto in the 8th house, it is things that are shared, okay? Pluto in the 8th house, it is finances. So there can be things that have went on with your finances or that have went on in general with your shared resources that you have been dealing with power struggles when it comes to that, okay, in this lifetime. However, Pluto in the 8th house, as I said, is very powerful for taking corrective action, okay? Corrective action and positioning themselves in a very powerful way through these corrective actions that they take so that they can grow, all right? This is good for personal growth, okay? Now, Pluto in the 8th house, a good example of a person using their sexual energy is Rihanna. Now, Rihanna has made multiple investments and has done multiple investments, okay? And these investments had to deal with her stage presence and how she asserted herself, you know, through her stage presence, because her Mars is in the 9th house and it is in the sign of Sagittarius. So the advertisement, how she advertised herself, okay? In the 9th house overseas, she, of course, came to a different country, but she's originally not from here. And she has transformed her life through this and asserting herself very powerfully on stage, okay? So that is Pluto in the 8th house, also with Mars inside of the 9th house, okay? But also Pluto in the 8th house, another example of this would be Nelson Mandela. Now Nelson Mandela, he has his Pluto in the 8th house, but he also has his Mars in the sign of Libra in the 11th house, okay? So his Pluto, when we're talking about it, in the 8th house, very much deals with the emotional intensity that is shared with the people he was going to bat for, okay? And in the sign of Libra, Mars being in the sign of Libra, it speaks to law and his interest in law, okay? The 11th house is humanitarian efforts, okay? Now, another example of Pluto in the 8th house is Ray Charles, okay? Ray Charles, Pluto in the 8th house for Ray Charles is also a number of other things that are going on with what's happening in his chart. But we're not going to speak about all of those here, okay? We might speak about all of them in another place, but not here right now. Pluto in the 8th house, his Pluto in his 8th house, when it pertains to his Mars is in the sign of Cancer, also in his 8th house. Also with Jupiter. So Jupiter, Pluto, and Mars. And his moon is making a square to all of those planets, all right? So that resulted in a little bit something different in its manifestation. However, Pluto in the 8th house with Mars being in the sign of Cancer in the 8th house is very much about a loss, okay? A loss that happened early on. We know about this. He lost his brother early on, okay? Mars, okay? Brothers, okay? So he lost his brother early on. However, he also dealt with losing his eyesight, okay? And him being able to make music, him being able to articulate his emotions and assert himself through music, has transformed his life in the way that he sees himself, okay? With Mars being in the 8th house, all right? And also with Jupiter and Pluto being in the 8th house. So he's very brave, he's very powerful, and he was very brave and very powerful during a time in this lifetime, or his lifetime, where he lost something very important to a lot of people, which is their sight, okay? Now, Pluto in the 8th house, right, with Ray Charles, this can deal with finances, shared resources. So there could also be a lot of things that were going on during that time around his finances, his resources that were being manipulated, okay? Just so we're clear. Also, I wanted to speak about this man that I learned about. I didn't know about him previously, and he actually was the reason why it took me quite a bit to get into this video and film this video. His name is Charles Lindbergh, okay? He has his Pluto in the 8th house as well, but he also has his Mars in the sign of Aquarius, and his Mars is in his 4th house, also sitting with his Sun. Now, this being said, he is very much known for him taking a solo flight, a solo aviation flight. Now, Mars in the 8th house, he was very brave, okay, to have done this. But also Mars sitting in the sign of Aquarius deals with aviation, all right? The 4th house, legacy, okay? So how it is that he is known and what he is known for, what we know him for, okay? Charles Lindbergh, okay? And I thought his whole story was very, very interesting. There are some things about his story that I think you guys should look into. I'm not going to speak about that here because you never know who is going to see this video, and I do not want to alarm anybody who might know this person or know their family, okay? And I'm very sensitive to things like that for other people because I deal with so many people who deal with that, okay? So, he is very brave when it came to taking that solo flight. His Mars very much shows his interest, which is aviation, okay? And he has been known, 4th house, for doing this. And this is something that has been stamped and you can see inside of his birth chart, okay? Pluto in the 8th house is very powerful. You can transform your life and you can grow very, very expansively if you decide to take action, okay? If you decide to take action, an obstacle is only 20% of what it is that you're going towards, okay? 80% is the goal. 20% is the obstacle, and obstacles are going to come in life. But the important thing about Pluto in the 8th house is that you're built for this. And I'm telling you, I'm letting you know, you're built for this, okay? You might be very much dealing with things that feel like, why is this happening? You can have major losses that you experience in life. And this doesn't have to be a loss of a person or anything like this. This can just be losses in general. There can be emotional losses, okay, that happen to people that are very transformative in their lives, okay? It doesn't have to just be a person. But nevertheless, Pluto in the 8th house, you are powerful when it comes to taking action. And don't be scared to take action. You're not going to know unless you go ahead and do it, okay? And Pluto in the 8th house, what I want to say for you is that Pluto in the 8th house can also, when other things are being reinforced here, bring about a person in your life who could be a person who is, of course, a person you share resources with and who is looking out for you in that manner. And they can be very powerful, okay, in your life when it comes to your resources, where you make your money, how you get your money, okay? Pluto in the 8th house, I want you to know that even though you might have things that go on, that one can be very much emotionally turbulent for you, because this is the 8th house. It can be very, very much feeling like you might not have everything to yourself, or you might not be always in control of something that you feel like should be in your hands. You still have the power to take action towards that. You might not always first initially know how it is to take action and to do these things. It is for you to learn, and sometimes that takes a longer amount of time. Okay, I speak very deeply about this placement off of the tube. Okay, but this is very transformative, very powerful. And for people who have Pluto in the 8th house, I ask that you do not be scared to take action and take your life into your own hands, and be okay with not knowing all of the answers towards the actions that you want to take initially, but being fine with finding those things out, because sometimes there's a little bit of mystery to unfold and be unveiled as you move through this lifetime, and you shouldn't be scared of that. That's something that you should embrace, because that is where your power is lying. Okay, so if you like this and this resonated with you, and you are a Pluto in the 8th house native, please let me know what you think down below in the comments. And if you like this and it resonated with you, make sure you hit that like button. And you guys, you are welcome to subscribe if you want to see more of these videos and more of me speaking about these birth charts. Okay, and I will be seeing you guys next time. Bye.